Welcome back to Candy's Classic Game Shrine, everyone. Today I'm going to go over something that has plagued every single one of us retro gamers in modern times. Using a zapper on a modern television. This video is going to go over the history of that issue, the solutions that have been come up with, and the future of where those solutions may lead us. So, stay tuned as we put this one to rest and bring out the new guns, quite literally. We all have memories of the Zapper, be it shooting bad guys in Hogan's Alley, getting mad at the dog in Duck Hunt, or testing your quick draw in Wild Gunman. Sadly, we no longer live in the days of our nostalgia, and technology has advanced beyond our old consoles. Who remembers the day when they tried to play Duck Hunt on their modern TV only to find out it doesn't work? It's an issue that has plagued us retro gamers since the early to mid-2000s, even till now. Finally, with a better understanding of the NES, the Zapper, and the NES ROMs themselves, people have been clever enough to find a few different solutions to playing these games on modern televisions. One of these solutions is the NESLCDMOD. It was created by a very clever guy by the name of Alexey. It all began when Alexey purchased a Famiclone to show Duck Hunt to his girlfriend, since she had missed out on the Candi, which was the Soviet Union's bootleg but kind of official NES console. Unfortunately, the game wouldn't work correctly on his TV. After playing for a while, he noticed he was able to register hits with his TV and gun combination though. It was at this point his curiosity sparked for his project. Previously, he had been trying to make homebrew games, and it didn't take Alexey long to figure out the issue was due to a lag problem. But how was he going to solve it? Alexey devoted a lot of his research to the problem and read tons of forums since 2014 and watched many videos of Duck Hunt not working on other TVs and videos of how the light gun was supposed to work. After seeing that it was technically possible for the gun to register the hit correctly without hardware modification, he then tried to explore a more software-based solution in the form of patches so that it was more user-friendly for others wanting to try. To further research, he spent time on NES dev forums and reading threads about people wanting to play Duck Hunt on a newer TV. There was always one of 3 types of responses given, and he wasn't satisfied with any of them. Alexey was determined to make it work. Fast forward 10 years and not a single ROM was ever made to compensate for the TV lag. Growing tired of waiting, Alexey changed his approach on fixing the issue. Instead of starting from scratch, he figured the better way to learn NES coding was to start with an existing game and disassemble the ROM. Once it was disassembled, he could then figure out how to deal with the light gun input. Coincidentally, during the time Alexey was working on his project, another person by the name of Jeff Keecher began a Kickstarter project with a similar goal called the Modern Mallard. To give you more information on this project, unlike Alexey's patch, the Modern Mallard used proprietary boards that replaced the one in your existing light gun and then required a cartridge to use a pass-through device which allowed the game's latency to then be corrected for the modern television. The project showed good potential, but unfortunately it failed to get backed. Many people were excited and intrigued with the project, but it seemed that others felt the issue with the Modern Mallard was that it only worked with Duck Hunt. While the game is popular, fun, affordable, and easy to find, there are many other Zapper games people wanted to see receive the same treatment. Others were wary of modifying their existing light guns. It's sad it wasn't supported. It would have been neat to see if other games could also have been used in the future. I'm also glad it existed even if it failed, because I feel projects like this, and Alexey's patch, and the next person, Ben's custom Zapper board, all had a big part in driving a large company, like Hyperkin, to find their own solution to sell on a larger scale. With the Modern Mallard failing to reach its goal, Alexey decided that his patches should be for free. He wanted his target demographic to be the people who have flash carts, however he isn't necessarily against people making specialized carts and then selling them. As of right now, not all Zapper games are compatible with Alexey's mod, however that doesn't mean they can't be. Alexey has expressed that he is very keen on having other developers and ROM hackers contact him regarding working on more titles. He said he's more than happy to explain how to do the mod and how it works if it would help potential ROM hackers and developers come up with more ideas. The titles that are currently supported are Duck Hunt, Wild Gunman, Hogan's Alley, Duck Hunt Versus, and Barker Bill's Trick Shooting. Freedom Force is listed, but it's currently postponed. As of right now, it's too large to fit the patch on the ROM. Alexey's plans going forward is to continue working with a USB light gun adapter and emulator modification. Currently, he's not satisfied with how it works. He's finding frame rate issues on the PC is not as stable, which results in errors in shot time direction. The next brilliant person I'm here to talk about is Ben from the channel Booyakasha. Ben's channel revolves around all kinds of light guns, and you're sure to learn about some gems and curiosities that you've missed as a collector and gamer. He's also brilliant with tinkering around with electronics. His story with the modern use of the Zapper began in the comments section to a review of Jeff Keecher's modern Mallard. Alexey reached out to Ben in the comments of that video to talk about the beginnings of the NES LCD mod. As Alexey's project got popular, more people tested and patched the ROM, and it became clear that the original Zapper wasn't just the issue, but also there was a big problem with false positives due to the amount of variables between TVs and Zapper clones. With Ben's channel revolving around the mere existence of light guns, he was naturally intrigued with these projects. He loved what was happening with the NES LCD mod and wanted to help polish Alexey's solution. He soon came up with his gun modification and PCB design in an attempt to add a simple fix for the issues with Alexey's solution. Ben tried a couple of electronic designs until he was happy. With so many variables to account for between the TV and light guns, he chose to use a potentiometer instead of a fixed value resistor in his gun modification. His PCB exists for people who wish to start from scratch with a toy gun of some sort. Basically, you install the PCB into the shell of a toy gun and run the wires, a diode, and a potentiometer to it, and you're ready to play. When it comes to future plans, Ben hopes to see new games be patched and made. He had spoken to Alexey in the past about working on an NES port of an old Soviet-era arcade game called, now bear with me, Zemnaya Ochota. He hopes to provide some help in the form of background and sprite work. Now let's talk about how to use the gun Ben sent me. You start up any of Alexey's ROM hacks and begin the game. You press the start button again and a number will appear in the top left corner. This number indicates the frames that the game uses for the delay in the gun input. It's recommended that you begin at 4 and then work your way from there. To test the delay, shoot an area of the screen without an enemy. If the enemy is hit, the sensitivity is too high. At this point, adjust the potentiometer knob to a lower setting and continue until you don't register a hit on the television. Once that happens, aim for an enemy and it should detect the hit. Double check and shoot at the background one more time to make sure that it doesn't register a hit in the background, and then you should be able to enjoy. Ben's modified gun works beautifully. In conjunction with Alexey's ROM patches, these two solutions are going to be about as good as it gets when it comes to bringing old Zapper games to modern televisions. We all just need some other bright minds to join forces with these guys and work on figuring out the lag and latency for other games. The Hyperkin Blaster HD is the latest Zapper solution to nearly hit the market. I say nearly hit the market because at the timing of this video it hasn't been released. Pre-orders have gone up in places, but it's not yet out. The Hyper Blaster HD is highly reminiscent of the modern Mallard in many ways, but in others it stands on its own. Just like the modern Mallard, this solution will only work with an original Duck Hunt cartridge. Unlike the modern Mallard, it requires an original NES, but it will come from a known company with a pre-modified light gun and adapter. Despite the many similarities to the modern Mallard, the people over at Hyperkin say they worked with Alexey to make the Hyper Blaster a reality. I know all of us curious minds can't wait to buy them and take them apart to see how they work. Thanks to these three gentlemen, we finally have enough people's attention on an accessory that has long been gone but never forgotten in us retro gamers' hearts. I hope you all enjoyed my look at the history and solutions to using a Zapper on a modern LCD TV. Let me know what you guys thought of the products and the video in the comments below, and until next time guys, take care. And now it's time to give it up to my Patreon supporters: Barclay Crazy, Chipper Angeles Negri, Joyful Sworn, Michael Carter, Robbie Martine McEvoy, Steve Marlowe, and the SideQuest Gamer. Thank you guys so much for all your support. You guys rock. If anyone else would like to become a Patreon supporter of mine, the link's in the description below.